concussion. A message from the American Academy of Neurology.
What you want to know. What you need to know.
Talk 1470. WNN.
The opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors. Welcome to the Lights in the Night Show with Russell Johnson, who wants to talk about and reveal what the United States government doesn't want you to know about UFOs and aliens right here in this country and around the globe. Russell has been following this material for over 50 years and will have guests who will tell their stories from around the world. Take down the number to call in, 888-565-1470, because Russell wants to hear your story. Our show also invites you to send your pictures and videos to UFO@amp2.tv so we can show them on our program at lightsinthenight.tv. Now, let's get to the Lights in the Night subject matter and hear what the government has tried to keep quiet for over 50 years. Again, get ready to call 888-565-1470 and watch on lightsinthenight.tv. Now, here's Russell with today's show.
Hi, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for being with us for, I think, the third, fourth program. We have Debbie with us. She's going to co-host the program with us. Hey, Debbie, thank you.
Hey, Russ, how are you?
Hey, thank you for being with us.
You're very welcome.
We are just shooting from the hip, if you will, because this is only the third or fourth week, if you will, and we are talking about aliens. Of course, that's
my favorite subject.
Your favorite subject. So you've been studying this?
Oh, for years.
Yeah?
Yep.
Why?
Since I'm 9 years old.
Since you're 9?
Well, I became very fascinated with the universe and its size at a young age, and then I looked into something called the Drake equation.
Oh. Okay.
And it's a mathematical equation based on the size of the universe, its ever-expanding size, what percentage of galaxies would have viable solar systems, what percentage of viable solar systems would have viable planets, intelligent life, evolved to the proper point where they could make contact with other civilizations. They have to be more evolved than we are, naturally, to make contact with other civilizations, but it's something I've studied for years.
Wow. An expert.
No, not an expert. A self-taught, knowledgeable person, but certainly not an expert. I don't have a degree in this. My degree is in mathematics.
Hey, very good. I'm glad we have you. You can help out a lot.
Thank you.
Because I'm stumbling through this.
Well, I'll unstumble you.
Okay, great. Hey, tonight we have Greg. Greg, are you there with us? We had him last week, and he was talking about the new planet that's supposed to show up in the spring of next year. And so, that said, I wanted Greg to talk about a little bit of that. You asking the name of the planet? You early, Debbie?
Well, there are many.
Not Greg first. We're going to do.
Okay, got you.
Spot for,
got you.
Hollow Earth.
Okay, is she on? She's with us, Jane.
First Hollow Earth.
Yeah, Hollow Earth. Do you know how if?
I've heard of them, certainly.
Okay, yeah.
It's a theory. It's a group, a theory.
Absolutely. You're right. And so here's a whole group of people who have talking about it on an ongoing basis. They usually do conference calls at night. 2,000 or 3,000 people listening each evening. And so we have with us. Do we have Billy or do we have Jane this week? Jane?
This is Jane and Billy.
Hey, Jane, thank you very much for being on the air with us.
Hi.
Well,
Debbie is here.
Thank you very much for inviting us.
Oh, no, it's a pleasure because you guys talk to a lot of people during the course of a week, a month, and you got a great following all over the country, all over the world, as a matter of fact. So, Jane, why don't we just begin because you want to be with us next week. Is that right?
Oh, yes.
Okay,
we look
great.
forward. We thank you for this opportunity as well.
No, it's an honor to have you. Tell us just briefly about Hollow Earth so the people who may not have heard about you.
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm Jane Stevens. I'm the coordinator for both Zaria and Zara of Hollow Earth. We have actually a conference call that we do every other Saturday, and that website and the moderator for that is Anna Hart. That website is Hollow Earth, HOLLOWEARTHNETWORK.com. So for those of you that would like to be able to, investigate and read a little bit up on Hollow Earth, we invite you to come and visit our website. Now, for those of you that are kind of in the area of, mixed feelings about Hollow Earth, well, you're not the only one. Many people actually think that the Earth is hollow. And, however, most people think that it has a molten core. That's what we've been taught in our schools. So we have a lot of mixed messages and mixed stories about Hollow Earth. And how would you like to really learn more about what Hollow Earth is all about by two beings that actually come from Hollow Earth? One of them, his name is Urea. And Urea actually was deposited here on the surface. And his father, who he trans-channels, is from the inner earth. These are evolved beings that are of a higher dimension than we are. So we would love to be able to talk with many of you about, Hollow Earth, and is it really a hoax, or is it mere fiction, or whatever. Anyways, we invite all of you to listen in next week to listen and talk with Zaria and Zora of Hollow Earth. Was there anything else that I need to express at this time?
Yeah,
Russell?
the call that you do. When is the next call that you will be doing with your group?
Oh, this Saturday.
Oh, this Saturday.
Saturday.
Okay, what time Saturday?
Yeah, this Saturday at 5 o'clock Pacific time.
So that's 8 o'clock Eastern time. Okay, go ahead.
It is, yeah. 5 o'clock. No, I'm sorry. On Saturday, because we do have some calls sometimes at 5 o'clock. This coming Saturday is at 9 a.m. Pacific time. I apologize. And it's for 2 hours.
9 a.m., so that will be 11, no, 9.
12.
12, thank you.
12 Eastern.
Right, 12 o'clock Eastern.
12 o'clock Eastern. So what is that number for people who may want to just pick up the phone and listen to what you have to say? What is that phone number?
Well, here, Billy will tell you.
It's 347-637-2383.
Okay. Let me say that once again. So that's next Eastern time. That's at 12 noon Eastern time
This coming Saturday.
This coming Saturday. And that's 347-637-2383.
Yes.
Great. Well, thank you very much. And that call lasts, what, about an hour, 2 hours?
2 hours, I think he said.
About 2 hours plus.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Billy. I appreciate that. So, listen, we're going to look forward to having you on the air with us next week at the same time, same station, and we will talk about the essence and all the nuances of Hollow Earth and the base commander. We will understand the base commander will be with us, and of Area 51, and he's going to be with us next week, okay?
Okay.
Hey, Billy, thank you very much. Jane, thanks for calling in.
You bet.
We really
Thank
appreciate you. That's going to be a tremendous show. It's going to be a dynamite show. And people will be informed about the reality of the inner circle, the inner earth. Great.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you, Jane.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, both of you.
Great.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
And Debbie, we have Greg. Greg is standing by. What time is it? I'm trying to watch the time.
It's 6:10.
Oh, yeah, we need your Greg. Greg, are you there?
I am.
Okay, thank you for holding on. Listen, Greg was with us last week. Could you give us a 30-second bio for the people who may not have heard you last week?
30-second bio on myself?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, I'm a well-known herbalist. My case kind of became famous after I was kidnapped from here. My case kind of became somewhat like Julian Assange in as much as what they did was just unbelievably illegal. They had me kidnapped. No extradition was not properly done, and so they just swept me away and had me on the Interpol red list as the #1 most wanted criminal in the world. People who think that's an exaggeration can look at Chapter 3 of Metatope.org. I discuss it at great length, but it's just so outrageous, and it kind of underscores the fact that governments lie about everything. And since this is about UFOs, anyone who's a really serious ufologist thinks what about disclosure? Do I really need to say it? That the government's really not honest with us when it comes to issues dealing with, speaking very broadly, exopolitics. Anyways, so that's it. I'm a very, very well-known herbalist. I'm very good at what I do, and I have a wide variety of practitioners around the world who consult with me on difficult cases where they're looking for a natural remedy that is not widely known in the public domain. So that's a wrap. That's
good. No, I had punched
sketch.
you up.
That's a thumbnail sketch.
No, that's good. No, I had watched the Interpol thing and the way they abducted you and brought you back to the United States illegally, and I was reading all about that. So anyone who wants to get that information, I think it's really critical that they delve into it. All they have to do is Google your name, and that's Greg.
Get 500,000 pages on Google, yeah.
Yeah, 500,000 pages on Google, yeah. Greg, Gregcaton. Do that because you really want to know this story. This is a fascinating story. I was reading about it today.
Yeah, Alex Jones would talk about it. Mike Adams would. Nobody else in the media would touch it with a 10-foot pole. There's no way. You'll see people like Fox News, ABC, NBC, CBS. None of those people are going to touch the story because they're not going to touch a story where there's something really, really criminal that the government has done. They're in the business of hiding criminal activity for the government, not exposing it. So, and again, this kind of dovetails with the whole issues of UFOs. I mean, we should be able to speak freely about ufology, and we should be able to get some kind of honest, response from our government when we ask them questions.
We're entitled to the truth, and we're not being given the truth.
Yeah, it's like, for instance, before you introduced me, you had this lady on who was talking about the hollow earth, right? Okay, yeah. I've heard this for years, and I kind of thought, well, maybe yes, maybe no, maybe it's a crock. I don't know. I come down here, and I get to dealing with various indigenous tribes because I wildcraft in the Amazon jungle, so I have to have good relations with these people. All these people believe in the hollow earth. I have had stories from numerous shaman who have gone into various portals and different experiences where they say that they have contacted different peoples who live inside the earth. Now, whether you believe that or not, I have to tell you, it's just as a part of their culture as their ethnobotany. They seriously believe this. I've got one guy, I can Google him on the internet, a fellow by the name of Agustin Grepa. And Don Agustin Grepa, he's out of Tena, which is the capital of Napo province, which is in the Amazon. And he told me point blank, he was hunting up in Oriana province, and he fell and went into some kind of portal, and he found himself in another in the earth, but not in the third dimension, but inside the earth on an either fourth or fifth dimension, and he couldn't get back, and he was gone for 2 weeks. But those 2 weeks, somehow time space got compressed. And he was there for years in experiential time. He actually found a woman, they got married, they had kids, all this happened, but in our Earth time, he was gone for 2 weeks. Now, I know that sounds incredibly fantastical to some of your listeners, except that I just hear this too often. It'd be different if I just had one or two people like, oh man, I got a crack, this guy's actually been, maybe he's still on ayahuasca, maybe the guy's, smoked too much Vilca or had too much Palo Santo, but the guy's tripping. But I hear it too much. I had the same thing. There was a guy here who's a very famous guy. He's kind of like Ecuador's version of Indiana Jones. His name is Andre Fernandez Salvador, and he was looking for Valverde's gold. When they came here and they executed the Spaniards executed the Inca king after he agreed to give them a room full of gold. Anyways, it's in legend here it's called Valverde's gold, and everyone's been looking for it. They know that somewhere there was tons and tons of gold that was hidden from the Spanish, and they would send things to the Spanish to goad them. They sent them a handkerchief with one kernel of corn and said, compared to the gold and silver you have, this kernel represents what you have versus what we have put away. Wow. So there's a mountain range here. It's one of the most inhospitable places on Earth unless you go to Antarctica, and it's called the Janganates, and it's in the province of Tungurahua. And this place, it's very tough to get to. It's very, and I've heard several people, independent people, tell me they have met beings and had contact with beings in the Janganates who are from the inner Earth. So again, there's all these things that we're not told about because, as I wrote in a recent article on, I do these essays called the Ashwin. Science is not about knowledge. Science is not about impartiality. Science is about the search for consensus among a professional, authoritative elite. It has nothing to do with the science is not about the search for knowledge. It's become a twisted, perverted religious cult. If it wasn't that, then we'd get more straight answers in the field of ufology.
Wow.
There you go. Anyways, you had asked me about this ET encounter down in Loja, down in Vilcabamba, right?
Right.
Continuing from last week? Well, I was really thinking that this, because, there's this thing on the internet called Zeta Talk, and I don't care what anybody says. They made a pretty good fools of themselves when they said, Planet X was coming in 2003, and it didn't, and they've been saying it periodically. So I thought, well, this is just one hoax. I'm going to put this in the manila file marked Y2K, right? So I was really thinking this is nonsense, and then I had a friend of mine said, well, there's a friend of mine called from Guayaquil and said, look, there's this guy and his name is Jose Iguana, and he and his wife actually helped, was impregnated by these people, and actually they and other couples in Ecuador are actually helping this race, which can no longer reproduce, to produce hybrid children. And she said, I've located him. You can actually meet him down in Vilcabamba. Now, this meeting took place in the last week of June of last year, so we're slightly over 1 year ago that this actually happened. So I went down there. I met this fella. We had a Friday night together, Friday night, a Saturday, and Sunday morning up until like 11 or 12, and then my wife and I headed back home. And just the things that this guy revealed are astonishing, and what's kind of more surprising is the things that have come out in the news that right now that were told to this guy back in the 1990s. I mean, this is July 2015. This guy was told these things in the 1990s, and one of the things he was told is that by the year 2016, and he was told this in the 90s, there will be no one left on your planet.
Okay.
Who does not
a lot
know
of people,
that Planet X is a reality.
I think even George Green, another friend of yours, he kind of alludes to that from time to time. But, I kind of disagree with that, but that's my opinion. Hey, listen, you're the expert. Let me ask you this. People are still being abducted. Is that right? Yes or no? Hello?
Are you? Well, yeah. I mean,
okay.
That's
then
pretty widespread as far as how it's reported. Yeah.
Okay. So millions and millions of people are still being abducted. For what purposes is that happening?
Well, I think there's a certain danger in kind of using a paintbrush to paint a very broad swath and not separate things. But the people the ET group that these particular people out of Loja were in touch with, the Ictomians, they haven't abducted anyone. They were if you actually read his book, which is called Por qué vienen, which is Spanish for why did they come, he explains that they refused to have anything to do with them unless they had their conscious permission. They weren't abducted against their will. Nothing was done to them against their will. At each stage, these particular and very early on, they said our planet is in the constellation that you call Pleiadians, but please don't call us Pleiadians. That's a totally different group. Or the term that you people use on your planet for Pleiadians, that's an entirely different group. And of course, this whole nonsense about constellations is nonsense anyways, because in any given constellation, you've got stars that are unbelievable numbers of light years away from each other. So just to say that someone's from a certain constellation really geographically tells you nothing. So anyways, I know what you're saying, but I think it's important to segregate between situations where people are abducted against their will and those where there seems to be some kind of spirit of reciprocity guiding the whole interaction.
Okay. Can we say that there are many, many species from different parts of the universe visiting our planet? I mean, I'm not talking about just the Greys or the reptilians or the Nordics or whatever. I'm talking about maybe upwards of 100 different species visiting the planet at this time. Is that yes or no?
I hear all kinds of figures. I mean, just in terms of my interactions with the indigenous here, who I don't know why South America is such a hub for extraterrestrial activity. As I said to you last time, I've spent the first 50 years of my life, I never saw a UFO. I was beginning to think that people who talked about UFOs are a little bit, spinning off their axis.
But now you've changed your mind?
Until you meet a friend who's serious and you know that they're telling the truth. And I have such friends.
Mm-hmm.
And they all happen to be in South America.
But I'm trying to give you a historical perspective. And my historical perspective is that when I came down here, it was like 180. Not only had I had never seen a UFO, and now I live in a place at 10,000 feet in the Andes Mountains, and I can tell you that on a clear night, it is almost impossible not to see a UFO in the sky on a night that's clear, that's not cloudy. So I went from never seeing one in 50 years of life, I'm 59 years old, to moving to a place where I see them every time there's a clear sky. It's
virtually every airline pilot has seen one. Isn't that correct?
And they can't report it. Yes, it's true.
Well, they do report it to each other.
So that's about it, but they can't put it in a formal report.
To be perfectly fair about it, one time I was on Continental Airlines Gold. I don't know that I ever got platinum, but I was a gold flyer. I flew many, tens of thousands of miles in commercial aircraft, and all that time, I have to honestly tell you, I've never seen a UFO from a commercial air flight. But that's just personally, that's only an anecdotal tidbit. But here in where I live in the Andes Mountains, the UFOs are incredibly plentiful.
Okay.
Now you could say it's because of city light. You could say it's because of, maybe because I don't know. But we see them. It's amazing that I never saw them in the United States, and I moved to South America, and I see UFOs all the time. I think that's...
I agree. We have about four minutes left, Greg. We will be expanding this program because a lot of people are complaining that it's too short, and we are not asking the relevant, cogent questions that should be asked, but we'll clean that up as we expand the time.
We can talk for hours and hours.
It's 10 hours. So, Greg, what I want to get while we have just a few minutes, and we want to bring you back because I really want to hear that complete story of why the Interpol connected with the FBI and all those other agencies throughout the world to abduct you. But we'll get back to that story one time when we have about an hour. But I want to answer this other question about abductions are still happening. Can you say why you may suppose or surmise that it may be still happening?
My views are not all that different than Jacques Vallée's. I think the majority of the ETs are mellifluous. I'm sorry. I've come to that conclusion. Anytime you abduct someone against their will is there anything about that interaction that's based on reciprocity or goodness or unconditional love? No, it's exploitation.
Well, there is also theory that the abductions are based on teaching us about how to save our planet. If you've read John Mack's book, he gets into that theory as well. So although it's against our will, maybe we need a wake-up call, and that's what they're trying to do as well.
Mm-hmm. And maybe subconsciously we have already agreed that they can abduct us. So that's another part. Consciously, no. Maybe subconsciously, yes.
They wouldn't have to abduct me against my will. They wouldn't have to do something like that to get my attention.
All right,
for me to interact with them and have bilateral communications. All
right. We have about 2 minutes. Debbie, did you want to, in closing here?
I would just like to ask a question about the planet in 2016, the name of it.
What they describe sounds very close to whatever term you want to use. Pick it. Okay, Planet X, Nibiru, Destroyer.
Oh, Nibiru. Okay, so that's the planet that comes every 3,600 years. That was and the Anunnaki who live on Nibiru, right?
Well, that's the narrative that we get from Zachariah Sitchin. You listen to someone like Gil Broussard, who is from the state I lived in for many years, Louisiana. He'll tell you it's 1/10 of that. It's about every 360, and he provides at least a very compelling argument that this is something that comes much more frequently, but we never notice when it comes back if it's on the other side of the sun. It's one of the situations where it comes with much greater frequency, but we only know about it if it comes close to us. Otherwise, if it returns to our solar system and it's on the other side of the sun, we may not even know. So I don't know. You've got different varying opinions. I didn't really think there was anything to it until I went down there, and all the detail the Ectomians gave to Jose Iguana really made me go, maybe I need to take another look at this. Maybe there's something to it. And then, of course, if you look at the latest work of Bob Fletcher, Investigations.com, he's another friend of George Green's, by the way. Bob Fletcher is absolutely convinced that these trillions and trillions and trillions they've spent on all these deep underground bases is all about in preparation for Nibiru, and it just seems weird that NASA would, bump off some of their own scientists.
We have 1 minute. 1 minute. We're going to have to bring you back for a whole hour.
This is too interesting to stop after 1 minute.
I know, but only 1 minute. 1 minute, I want to say that, Greg, thank you for being on the program, number one. And for people who want to check out your website, what website would you suggest people tune into?
Well, it's a repository of our work. They could check out metatopia.org. That's where I get into the
spell that for me.
Of history of our work and so forth.
Spell that for us. Hello.
MEDI, the first four letters of the word medical. MEDI, TOPIA.org. Metatopia.org.
Okay, great. Greg, listen, again, for the second time in a row, thank you for being on the program. And we will bring you back when we expand the program for an hour and get really in depth on that abduction that happened to you.
It's a pleasure, Russ.
It's an honor. Hey, thank you. Debbie?
Thank you.
Debbie, any closing remarks?
Well, it was a very interesting tease, and I can't wait to hear more.
Okay, well, thank you for being with us this week.
Thank you.
Well, next week, same time, same place. Next week, we will have the Hollow Earth right here, same time, same station, 1470 a.m.
Thank you for listening and watching The Lights in the Night Show with Russell Johnson. Today's show can be seen on lightsinthenight.tv. And remember to send your pictures and videos to UFO at amp2.tv. And perhaps they will be used on the show. Join us next week as we bring you more information on UFO sightings and aliens that your government doesn't want you to know about. Keep the information flowing, and we will see you next week on The Lights in the Night Show with Russell Johnson.